Hello again. What if every time you wanted to go into a building you had to pay for it with zombie kills? That's what we'll be exploring today. The first 3 buildings we want to unlock will cost us 5 zombie kills, then 25 for the next 3, and then after that we'll start doubling the cost every time. This is somewhat inspired by the Tileman challenge from old school RuneScape, so we might as well call it Houseman mode. If you have any ideas for similar challenges, then don't hesitate to let me know. But let's get into it. We're spawning in West Point as Himbo Houseman and immediately leaving the house we're in, since we haven't paid to be here. You might notice we're completely naked. That's thanks to the Deprived trait from the More Traits mod. It seems like if you're playing any kind of Zomboid challenge, you're required to start naked, even though there's plenty of clothing just waiting to be peeled off the nearest walking corpse. These two are already offering us theirs, so it'd be rude not to accept. While Himbo gets dressed, if we look up here you can see our overall kill count in a nice fetching baby blue. This is from the mod Zombie Counter. I'll be keeping track of the number of zombie kills I've spent unlocking houses just below it. Anyway, back to the gameplay. As you might know, pushing over zombies and stamping them to death works perfectly well but shouldn't be relied upon as a permanent solution to the undead problem. So, being that Himbo is built towards foraging and spears, we're having a rummage around the nearby trees hoping to find something useful. Predictably though, we just found zombies, which, to be fair, are kind of useful, because now that I've killed 5 of them I can slink back into the house we spawned in, only it's gotten a bit crowded while we've been away. We still don't have a weapon and I can't really push all of these guys over for stomping individually, so let's just give them the old runaround for now and have a very quick rummage for something heavy to hit them with. Ah yes, a griddle pan, the ultimate weapon. Our good friends are at the door though, so that's enough rummaging for now. Let's get the hell out of here. On the way out we'll give these two the fight of their lives and then phase through this guy and prepare ourselves for mortal combat. With a pan. Unfortunately, the loud metallic clanging of cast iron pan on rotting bone has attracted quite a bit of attention, so we'll run around a bit more to try and lose some of the heat. Jumping fences hot fuzz style always seems like a good idea in this solution, and whilst jumping this one we catch a glimpse of something truly beautiful. Oh yes, I'll be having that, thank you very much. Backpack acquired. Let's get back into the house and pack it full of food. Soon enough though, my demons catch back up to me and I have an awkward experience trying to flee through the bathroom window. Kind of like when you go to avoid someone in a hallway but both go in the same direction. Normally in that situation I just laugh, say sorry and move on with my life, but this time I decided it's probably best to aerate their brain pan. Having all these folks in and around the house feels like a pretty good opportunity to farm up some kills. But as seems to be eternally the case, I quickly find my hands full of zombies. Rather than doing the smart thing and leaving, I push my luck just a little too far and fall prey to the classic synchronized lunge maneuver. Thankfully, 'tis literally but a scratch. Somehow they got me on my upper arm whilst lunging at my ankles, which is kind of impressive. I don't have anything to use as a bandage, so this guy's shirt will have to do. He certainly doesn't need it anymore. After running back towards our one unlocked house again and finding it still upsettingly full, I figure it's time to go for a run around in the woods once more. I'm determined to loot this last remaining room, which turned out to be a pretty good idea, because this wardrobe contains not 1 but 2 gun cases. One containing an M14 with 2 magazines and 2 boxes of rounds, and the other a double barrel and 2 boxes of shells. It's always very exciting to find these big loud explosion sticks in Zomboid, but let's be realistic. I'll probably never use these in this run. Nonetheless, I stuff them into my backpack and head out into the kitchen. Since we've finally got some peace and quiet, let's cook everything that was in the freezer, snaffle it, and then be on our way. I figured it would be a good idea to head over to a more affluent neighbourhood. If we can only access a few houses, it'd probably be a good idea to make them big ones. On the way there, I found a corpse containing this salvaged shiv from the scrap weapons mod. Shortly after that, I ran around a corner too quickly, shat myself, and then fell over, thankfully entirely unmolested. I picked up a lovely baseball bat from the boot of this car before continuing on my way, arriving at this large house here, which rather upsettingly turned out to be home to 5 of the recently undeceased. No problem, I have a shiv and they're about to break out of this window. I'll just stab them in the face while they're on the ground. Lunge attack! Crunch! Well, shit. Ain't this a pickle? We've picked up another scratch and a beautiful laceration to boot this time. Good stuff. If we're not infected now, then Jesus is clearly watching over Himbo, though I'd find that hard to believe because, I mean, look around. It just doesn't feel very Jesus-y around here. Jesus-y. The internet has ruined anything that ends in "-y", hasn't it? Anyway, after quite a bit of fuss shifting all those zombies around, we can head back into our second house. And you might notice that by this point we have 32 kills and have only spent 10 of them. I considered increasing the cost per house at this point, but then I remembered I'm well on my way to becoming a zombie anyway, so I might as well go easy on myself for now. The place turned out to be pretty valuable, containing a saw, some planks, plenty of the usual food, and a bottle of disinfectant which I applied to my various festering wounds. As a reward for being such a good boy, I let Himbo eat a whole pint of ice cream. Personally, downing a pot of soup followed by ice cream would put me out of action for a week, whereas Himbo's nuclear stomach simply treats everything and anything as reaction mass and goes on as usual. On this occasion, Himbo is him going into the neighbour's house, but not before very slowly, in an injured manner, dealing with the neighbours and stealing one of their leather jackets. Remember that this is the last of our cheap houses. The next 3 buildings we enter will cost us 25 zombie kills, so I should probably start being more picky. But this place is pretty decent, containing a crowbar, a hammer, and perhaps most importantly, a fanny pack. Or bum bag to us Brits. It also contains this guy, who doesn't put up much of a fight, as well as some painkillers which for obvious reasons we'll be needing in order to get some much needed sleep. In the morning, we do some more really dumb things and end up getting scratched again. This is getting a little dumb. I have no excuse. I will not be sorry, I will be better. Okay, so a little ways along the road and a few more neighbours killed for the second time, we're gonna head into another house, spending 25 of our precious zombie kills in search of a knife to use for spear making. No knife. There's never a knife. Only ice cream. So that was a bit of a bust, and now we can't enter another house until we've done some killing, so it's off to the woods we go in search of sharp rocks and undead combatants. Having erased enough zombies to unlock another precious house, we come across this one here, barricaded up. How enticing. After peeling away a barricade, we can deal with this friendly fella and have a route around before our other friends manage to claw their way inside. Contained within are axes, various scrap weapons, this nice lady, baseball bats, and perhaps most interestingly to me, this spear. Very tasty. Okay, our other friends are very kindly breaching our sanctum now, so it's time to momentarily flee, dumping our heavy and not enormously useful firearms outside before putting this shiny new spear to use. I think it's kind of like a guandao, but whatever historic weapon it resembles most, it's time to use it to clear and loot the upstairs of what I suspect will become our home, once it's been resecured, that is. So let's do that. Cutting down a tree and sawing it into logs is half the battle. The other half is finding some nails, which will have to wait for a hot minute as we're under siege from the local Walking Dead cosplay group. Once they've all been handled, we need to get some sleep, but not before having a quick wash. In the wee hours of the morning, one of the former residents' alarms woke us up rather rudely. In any case, we're up now, so that's our sleep cycle ruined for the next week. So we need nails, and this house does have a shed, so while it may seem like a poor way to spend another 25 of our kills, let's have a peep in there. Thankfully, this turned out to be an excellent idea, rewarding us with fishing kit, a welding mask, and a box of nails. With those, we can get to work boarding up the windows, leaving us with just a single door left unbarricaded. That's potentially not the smartest way to live, but here we are. I've just got to clear out some of the corpses and this place can kind of feel like a home now. We'll sit ourselves in front of the cooking show whilst doing a crossword in a vain attempt to forget that there's blood spatter covering all 4 walls and presumably also the ceiling of this room. As is true of most of my characters in Zomboid, Himbo is a smoker, so I'd like to head to the bar on the eastern edge of town for some ciggies and booze. But first, let's peel away the rank bandages from our wounds to see what's left. Just the laceration on our hand. Okay, fair enough, it's time for bed. And I can't believe it, but we actually don't seem to be turning into a zombie. I'm almost disappointed. It just really feels like Himbo should be him dead by now. Since we're still him alive though, let's head out eastward. A gunshot while we were asleep has gotten everybody all stirred up out here, so there's quite a bit of killing to do along the way. There are some absolutely massive groups of zombies out here, and whilst this spear is more than capable of handling them, it's starting to show its age just a little. But anyway, we're here at the gun shop and bar. We're not going to be able to get into the gun store without a sledgehammer, but we're mainly after the bar's contents anyway. I suppose it makes sense that there'd be a healthy collection of patrons hanging around the bar post-death. Perhaps their rotting minds retain just enough of their past selves to remember their old routines. Or maybe they just died here. Whatever the case, they're dead again now, and we can part with 50 kills to scavenge everything the bar has to give, which, as you might expect, includes booze and cigarettes, as well as a mop that can be broken into a spear. Very handy. The run home from the bar is a pretty butt-clenchy experience, with so many zombies following me when I get back home that I need to go for a run in the woods. Oh, and Ra says hi, right as my beloved Guandao finally breaks, and thus, presumably, begins the downward spiral. That weapon really was god tier for me. Now I have to go back to scratching around in the dirt for spears that barely last a few zombies. Attaching things to them is a good way to extend their lives, so let's tape a screwdriver to the end of this stick and poke some folks with it. It seems we've managed to leave them in the woods for now though, so it's time to chug a whole bottle of wine and get into bed. By morning, or evening, Himbo's body clock is all the way out of whack by now. Either way, the laceration has healed. I'll say it again, how he's not shambling around chewing on bones already is absolutely beyond me. But to celebrate, I read some magazines about making things from scrap, which I may or may not put to use, and then went out to do some killing using a spear with a hunting knife taped to the end. My reward is a cowboy hat, which you probably can't see very well at night, but I assure you it's clipping through my welding mask just mighty fine, partner. Yeah! But like they always do, this spear finally broke, and since I don't have unlimited duct tape to attach new sharp objects to sticks with, I actually need more of the sticks if I want to keep on killing. So we're off to scrat around in the woods in pitch darkness and getting scratched again for the pleasure. Frankly though, by this point I'm fairly convinced Himbo is immune to zombification. Even so, all this scratching and such has got him mad enough to swallow a horn toad backwards. Himbo, grab the coach gun. We're going out killing. Loud this time. Ah, hell. That's all the shells. Fun's over. Let's go home. Alright, that's enough rootin' and/or tootin' for now. Let's get back to the business of surviving. We've racked up a healthy bank of zombie kills, but don't forget my next building will cost 100 of them, and 200 after that. After all that excitement, I figure the hardware store on the other side of town would probably be a good place to check. So I leave all my tools at home, figuring I won't need them since I'm going to a hardware store, only to arrive and find it barricaded. Typical. So I spent a while running around killing zombies with a machete and then decided to try my luck with this shed here, spending 100 zombie kills to pop inside and thankfully find a hammer. There's also a lot of other useful stuff in here, a generator for example, but we're here for that store across the road, so let's peel away the barricades, expend a further 200 zombie kills and get into it. When I started looting the place, I was initially disappointed to find it less of a hardware store and more of a middle of Lidl situation. A bit of everything from food to gardening to clothing. But when I started to hit that sweet barricaded building loot, scrap weapons aplenty. By the sounds of it, we're currently sharing this building with a few friends, so let's deal with them right quick and then check upstairs, where we find some boxes of goodies, including this bright pink hockey helmet, gas mask and bulletproof vest combo that comes together to make me look completely psychotic. Just 2 boxes remain untouched in the corner. What treasures might they contain? Hallelujah, a new scrap spear. It truly brings a tear to the eye. Alright, I'm going to spend the night hugging it in the apartment here, and then we're going to take it out to have some fun. Dreams of undead slaughter at a relatively safe distance swirl around in Himbo's head all through the night. Shortly before dawn, we awake to have a dodgy breakfast of carrots and cabbages before getting to the dirty stuff. Killing, killing and more killing, effortlessly carving through the undead populace. But overconfidence, so they say, is a slow and insidious killer. Himbo soon finds himself tiring, in a state of abject panic, staring down a horde of more zombies than he could possibly hope to kill, but his blood is up, the lenses of his gas mask stained red with gore. There's no stopping now. In a confusing maneuver, Himbo jumps the fence, narrowly escaping death, only to jump back over the fence into the waiting arms of the horde. There's no stopping now. His mind is gone, but his bloodlust remains evermore. Please, as ever, remember to remain indoors. It's not safe outside. Himbo's waiting for you there. Until next time, thanks for watching. Goodbye.